You know that moment when you're standing in the paint aisle and there are literally thousands of these little color squares and you're just like, how do people actually choose? Like, you hold up one and then another and you're thinking, this could either look amazing or completely terrible, and I honestly have no idea which one it's going to be. And then you end up walking out with the same beige that you always pick because at least you know that it won't be a disaster. But here's what's crazy. Professional designers aren't just born knowing which colors work together. They actually use a formula that you'll also know today. Hey, I'm Amelia Fenmore, and after years of playing it safe with builder grade everything, I discovered there's actually one simple rule that changed everything for me. It took me from a bubblegum pink disaster in one of my early designs to confidently handling client projects without second guessing every choice. And once you know it, choosing colors becomes like following a recipe instead of trying to wing it. So let's get into it. Let me tell you how I actually figured this out because it wasn't pretty. I'm sitting in my apartment, my tiny apartment, after my divorce, surrounded by half a furniture set and a serious case of, I need to make this place feel like home, but have no idea what I'm doing. And my brain is wired for spreadsheets and balance sheets. For me, everything has to add up. Everything needs a system. But design at that time, design felt like this mysterious art form where you either had it or you didn't. I remember spending literally 3 hours in that paint aisle, taking photos of color swatches with my phone, going home, looking at them under different lights, second guessing everything. And then I'd see these gorgeous rooms on Pinterest and think, how did they know that that navy blue would work with that gold? How did they know exactly how much of each color to use? It was like everybody had this secret handbook that I never got. But here's the thing about having an accounting background. When something doesn't make sense, I dig until it does. So I started studying every single room that made me stop scrolling. Not just looking at them, but like dissecting them. And that's when I noticed something. Every single room that felt balanced, that felt right, they all had this same mathematical relationship between their colors. It wasn't just random. It wasn't talent. It was literally like a formula. You know that feeling when you're trying to remember someone's name and it's right on the tip of your tongue? That's how this felt, except it was this design concept that was right there, hiding in plain sight. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. It was everywhere. The expensive hotel lobbies, the magazine spreads, even my friend's living room that I'd always loved but could never really put my finger on why. They were all using the same exact system. Now, I'm going to break down exactly what this system is and how you can use it in any room, with any style, with any budget. But first, let me show you why this works on a fundamental level, because once you understand the why, the how becomes ridiculously simple. Okay, so here's the thing that changed everything for me. It's called the 60-30-10 rule. And I promise you, it's way simpler than it sounds. Basically, for any room to feel balanced and put together, you need exactly 3 colors used in these specific proportions. 60% of your room should be one dominant color. 30% should be your secondary color, and 10% should be your accent color. That's it. That's literally the whole thing. Sounds like common sense, right? But let me break down what this actually looks like in real life, because this is where it gets practical. Your 60%. This is your main color. It's doing the heavy lifting. In most rooms, this is going to be your wall color and maybe your biggest piece of furniture like a sofa or large area rug. It's the color that anchors everything else. Think of it like the foundation of a house. Not exciting, but absolutely essential. Your 30%, this is where things start getting interesting. This color is there to create contrast and add visual interest without competing with your main color. So this might be your accent chairs, your curtains, maybe an accent wall if you're feeling bold. It's substantial enough to make an impact, but not so much that it takes over. And then your 10%, this is the fun part. This is your pop of personality. We're talking throw pillows, artwork, maybe some gold picture frames, decorative objects, the stuff that makes people go, "Oh, I love that," when they walk into your room. Now, here's what's crazy. When you run the numbers on any room that you ever loved, I guarantee you it follows this exact formula. Your eye naturally wants to see this balance. Too much of any one color and it feels overwhelming. Not enough contrast and it feels boring. But get those proportions right, that's when a room goes from fine to wow, who did this? Okay, so now I'm going to prove this to you. Let's become design detectives for a minute. Look at this gorgeous living room. At first glance, it just feels right, you know? But let's break it down. See all that soft, warm white? The walls, the ceiling, that big sectional sofa? That's our 60%. It's everywhere, but it doesn't feel boring because it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, creating this calm, airy foundation. Now look for the wood tones. There's the media console, the coffee table, that gorgeous accent chair frame. That's our 30%. It's substantial enough that you definitely notice it, but it's not competing with the white. And then, see those little bits of black? The lamps, the picture frames, that bin coffee table frame? That's our 10%. And it's doing all the heavy lifting in terms of making this room feel sophisticated instead of bland. Without that little bit of black, this room would just be beige and wood. Nice, but forgettable. Now, let's look at something completely different. This dining room is bold, right? But it's using the exact same formula. That moody navy blue covering the walls, that's our 60%. And yes, it's a big color choice, but because it's being used as the dominant color, it works. The wood dining table and floors, that's the 30%. It's grounding all that navy and keeping it from feeling too intense. And then look at those pops of emerald green in the chairs and that gold chandelier. That's the 10% that makes this room absolutely sing. Without that mathematical balance, this room could have been a total disaster. Too much navy and it would feel like a cave. Not enough contrast and it would fall flat. And here's where it gets really interesting. Monochromatic rooms. This bedroom looks like it's all gray, but it's actually using the 3 different shades of gray in that same 60-30-10 proportion. The light gray walls, that's the 60%. The medium gray headboard and bedding, that's the 30%. And those dark charcoal accents in the pillow and the throw, that's the 10%. Even when you're working with one color family, your eye still needs that variation to feel satisfied. This is why some all-white rooms feel incredible and others feel like a doctor's office. It's all about getting these proportions right, even with the same color. Okay, so now you're probably thinking, great, Amelia, I get the proportions, but how do I actually pick the 3 colors in the first place? Because let's be real, walking into that paint store and trying to imagine how 3 random colors are going to work together is still terrifying. Here's the thing that's going to change your life. You never, ever start with paint. Never. I know, that sounds backwards, but hear me out. You start with what I call your anchor piece. This is your cheat sheet, literally, your color palette handed to you on a silver platter. Your anchor piece is something that already contains multiple colors that you absolutely love. It could be a gorgeous area rug, a piece of artwork, a throw pillow with a beautiful pattern, even a photo that makes you happy. The key is that someone else, a professional artist, a textile designer, has already done the hard work of creating a harmonious color story for you. Let's say you find this beautiful Persian rug. Look at it. It's got this deep navy background, these gorgeous rust-colored patterns, and little flecks of gold throughout. There's your palette. Done. The navy blue is the most dominant color in the rug, so that becomes your 60%. Hello, wall color decision made. The rust color is second most prominent, so that's your 30%. Perfect for an accent chair or some throw pillows. And those little gold details, that's your 10%. Now you can confidently shop for gold picture frames knowing that they'll be perfect. By starting with an anchor piece, you've guaranteed that your colors will work together because they already do work together. You're not guessing, you're not hoping, you're following a proven color story. And here's what's crazy. Once you start doing this, you'll approach choosing the colors of the rooms you're working on differently. You can find that gorgeous fabric first or that amazing piece of art and then build the room around it. The paint color is often the very last thing you'll choose, not the first. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what if 3 colors isn't enough? What if I want more variety? And fair enough, I get it. Sometimes you see a room and you're like, that definitely has more than 3 colors. But here's the thing. It probably doesn't. What you're seeing is variations within those 3 main colors, or what we call neutrals that don't count. So whites, creams, blacks, grays, and natural wood tones, these are kind of like the supporting cast. They don't compete with your main 3 colors, they just help them shine. Look at this room. At first glance, you might think, okay, there's white, cream, brown, black, navy, gold. That's like 6 colors. But when you really break it down, the navy is the 60%, the warm wood is the 30%, the gold is the 10%, and everything else, the whites, creams, black accents, those are just neutrals supporting the main story. Now, if you absolutely must add a 4th color, and I mean absolutely must, here's the rule. It can only be used in 5% of the room or less. Think of it like a tiny whisper of a color. Maybe it's in one piece of artwork or a single decorative object. But honestly, most of the time, when people think they need more colors, what they actually need is more texture or more pattern within their existing 3 colors. That's what creates visual interest without creating chaos. The 60-30-10 rule works because it gives your eye a clear hierarchy. When you start adding in more colors in significant amounts, you lose that hierarchy and the room starts to feel scattered instead of intentional. Okay, so here's your homework, and I actually mean this. The next time you're scrolling through Pinterest or Instagram, pause on a room that makes you stop and go, wow, and then become a design detective. Look for the 60-30-10. I promise you, it's there. Once you start seeing it, you can't unsee it. And once you can't unsee it, you'll never doubt your color choices again. You'll walk into that paint store with confidence because you'll know exactly what you're looking for. You'll start rearranging every room you walk into your head and actually knowing how to make it better. And honestly, that's when you realize you might have more of a design eye than you had thought. You know what's funny? I get messages all the time from people who are like, Amelia, I used your 60-30-10 rule and now everyone's asking who my designer is. My friends want me to help them with their spaces. And I'm always like, well, maybe you should consider it. Because here's the thing. If you can master color, if you can look at a space and instinctively know how to make it better, if people are already asking for your help, maybe it's not just a coincidence. Maybe that's your design brain telling you something. So if you're watching this thinking, wow, I actually get this. This makes sense. I can do this. You might want to check out my next video where I talk about the 5 traits that mean you're probably cut out to start your own interior design business. Because, spoiler alert, having a good eye for color, that's definitely one of them. I'll link that video right here, and I'd love to know in the comments, What was your biggest aha moment from this video? What room are you going to tackle first with the 60-30-10 rule? Thanks for hanging out with me today. Design friends, I'll see you in the next one.